Something shifted behind palace walls, something so sharp and unexpected that it pushed Sarah Ferguson toward a move the monarchy never thought she'd even consider. For years she stayed calm, stayed quiet, stayed out of the storm, but after one decision that silence cracked, and now insiders say she's preparing a response so pointed, so calculated, that it could send shockwaves straight through the royal circle. What exactly pushed her to this breaking point, and why now? Stay with me, because the truth behind this turning moment is far more intense than it looks. And before we dive deeper, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the unfolding twists. The moment Sarah Ferguson received word that she was being pushed out of Royal Lodge, something inside her snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically, but in the kind of quiet, simmering way that signals a person has finally reached their limit. Royal Lodge wasn't just a place she lived. It was the last piece of stability she had held onto after years of navigating the royal world's pressure and politics. Losing it wasn't just inconvenient, it felt personal. People close to her say the timing and the tone of the decision cut deeper than anyone outside the palace could see. It felt like a message, a final reminder that her place within the royal structure was slipping, and slipping fast. Behind the scenes, she felt dismissed, sidelined, and treated as if her decades of loyalty meant nothing. And that's where the first spark of retaliation began to form. She wasn't angry over a house, she was angry over what the house represented. It symbolized every struggle she endured quietly, every time she was expected to take blame, and every moment she stayed silent to avoid adding fuel to the palace's fire. To her, this eviction was the final insult, the moment that confirmed she was being pushed into the margins once again. And that's when the idea of revenge, softened, controlled, but unmistakably deliberate, began to grow. She felt she'd given years of understanding, years of patience, and years of silence, only to be treated as expendable. The decision didn't just sting, it flipped a switch. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't thinking about keeping the peace, she was thinking about setting the record straight. And that shift, quiet, calculated, and razor-focused, is exactly what triggered the next stage in this unfolding storm. Once the shock faded, something far stronger took its place. Sarah Ferguson didn't just want to push back, she wanted to aim her response exactly where she felt the decision came from: King Charles himself. Sources say the eviction felt like a final dismissal, a decision made without considering her history, her loyalty, or the years she spent trying to stay out of royal conflict. And in her eyes, it wasn't just a loss of a home, it was a message from the very top. Inside her circle, the mood shifted quickly. She began to question why she was being pushed aside, why her stability was disrupted, and why she was being treated as if she no longer mattered. The more she replayed the situation, the clearer her focus became. If the decision came from Charles, then the response, the reckoning, would point back to him as well. But her revenge wasn't loud or explosive. It was quiet, precise, and deliberate. She didn't want drama for drama's sake. She wanted balance. She wanted her side heard, and she wanted the world to understand the pressure she had endured behind the scenes. Insiders say this is when her attitude changed completely. She started weighing what she'd stayed silent about for years, considering how much she could reveal, and realizing just how much the public didn't know. What had once been patience became strategy. What had once been silence became leverage. And with every passing day, her resolve sharpened.
If the palace could make decisions that upended her life, then she could make a decision of her own, one that would finally give her the power to speak directly and unapologetically. And that rising determination is exactly what led to the whispers of a move bold enough to catch the entire media industry off guard.
The moment industry insiders picked up on her shift, the speculation exploded. Suddenly, there were quiet conversations happening in studios, production offices, and behind newsroom doors, all circling the same question. Was Sarah Ferguson preparing to speak publicly in a way she never had before? According to reports, the idea wasn't just a casual thought, it was being seriously evaluated. A single, high-impact sit-down. No fluff, no filler, just her, finally telling her side of the story without the usual royal filter shaping the edges. And under that concept, producers saw potential, massive potential. Offers began floating around, some rumored to hit seven-figure territory, not because she wanted sensationalism, but because her story, her perspective, carried decades of tension and silence behind it. And whether people agreed with her or not, they would watch. The buzz inside media circles painted a picture of someone weighing every angle. She wasn't rushing toward a camera, she was choosing the right platform, the right tone, and the right moment. This wasn't about throwing fire, it was about taking control of a narrative that had followed her for years. Insiders say the conversation kept returning to one theme: setting the record straight, not lashing out, not spiraling, but making sure the world understood her version of events without interruption. And if she did choose to step forward, she knew the impact wouldn't just land on her, because a tell-all at this moment, after this decision, would ripple outward, reaching the one person whose reign is under more pressure than most people realize. And that possibility is exactly why the next part of this story has the palace watching every move. Within the palace, the situation wasn't brushed off as simple frustration. The timing, the circumstances, and the potential scale of her interview turned it into something far more delicate. For King Charles, already navigating intense public scrutiny, the idea of Sarah Ferguson stepping forward now wasn't just inconvenient, it was risky. Sources say the concern came down to one thing: unpredictability. She had spent years avoiding major public confrontations, which meant no one truly knew how much she might reveal if she finally decided to speak freely. And because her experiences touched multiple eras of royal history, even a carefully measured interview could dredge up moments the palace hoped were long past. Commentators suggested that any major sit-down from her could shift the spotlight onto decisions, tensions, and private dynamics the monarchy would prefer to keep low profile. It wasn't about creating a scandal outright, it was about opening old doors the institution considers sealed. And with the monarchy currently focused on protecting its image, even a subtle challenge could complicate things fast. That's why insiders say this moment feels different. Her voice, if used now, has the potential to reshape conversations in ways the palace can't predict or control. For Charles, it's not the interview that's alarming, it's the timing, the sentiment behind it, and how the public might interpret every word she chooses to share. And behind all of this, the biggest question still remains: what will she actually decide to do? Behind the scenes, the conversation shifted from emotion to calculation. If Sarah Ferguson chose to move forward, this wouldn't be a chaotic outburst. It would be a carefully designed moment. Industry insiders say she's been reviewing formats, negotiating terms, and weighing which platform gives her the most control. A single interview can shape an entire narrative, and she knows that better than anyone. But every strategic move comes with risk. Speaking out could ignite controversy, draw pushback from palace allies, and place her under a harsher spotlight than she's seen in years. At the same time, staying silent could leave the public with assumptions she never gets to correct. And that's exactly the crossroads she finds herself at. A choice between letting others define her story or stepping forward to reclaim it. Producers involved in early discussions reportedly expect tight conditions if she agrees, controlled framing, precise talking points, and a tone that's firm but measured. Nothing reckless, nothing impulsive, just clarity, the kind she's held back for a long time. And that's what makes this moment so tense. If she speaks, the impact won't stop at her doorstep. It will ripple across royal narratives, public opinion, and the very image the monarchy is trying to maintain. Right now, all signs point to a woman who's tired of being misunderstood and tired of carrying the weight of decisions she didn't make. She sees this as a rare chance to reset the narrative, not through anger, but through truth told in her own voice. And if she chooses that path, the reaction won't just be loud, it will be historic.